drove up from Columbus, Ohio today, which was a long drive. It's worth being here.
Wow, that's like 9 hours.
It's exactly like 9 hours, but it was worth it. This was fun. It's a great little place, and I'm very happy to be invited to come here and read. This is fantastic. I will share with you my favorite billboard on the way up. Cheese is everything. It was an advertisement for cheese.
Very deep.
All right, here we go. Running with my father. Gone fat from grief, I took my heavy jar and followed him in the high summer heat, for weeks to pare away the weight of loss that hung around me like a planet's rings. I had to lose my gravity. We ran our course until I easily outpaced him, searching for shade in the temporary leaves. Up the hill now, a butterfly of sweat on both our chests. What if his muscles give out in the days ahead? One loss recedes into another in the arc of sun. My shadow falls behind. With invisible thread, I'm pulling him to the finish where ticker tape flies through the air as if it had no end. Circus, circus. This is the trapeze a dream might make. Precarious height from which you swing to safety or fall into your life. The swollen sea of calliope music where no driftnet lies. Blessed to land on solid ground for once, instead of sinking deeper into the whirlpool, where you are phase shifted to some middle Europe with its klaxon angels that scream at you to wake. Their dissonance overwhelms, like slides of all your human failures stacked together. Try forgetting, and life will send its lions to ravage the hole you make, so wide it is a flaming hoop. See how they leap through to the past, that sewer that does not drain? Photograph what you see to freeze the moments, and watch the way the light betrays its very gift by fading. Even the light can't bear the repeating, a scratch against the silence, the record never getting to where you want it to go, but always in motion. The big top's shadow stretches across the grass and changes every second, like a sundial, but you refuse to see it, hiding beneath your never unmade bed. Adam and Eve go to the zoo. It is Adam who stops at the front gate, even though it's open and held back. He quivers as if he's thought of a splinter. Eve is already looking past the iron gates into the plotted wilderness that aches inside of her like a vague deja vu. There is the walrus, there is the fox, there is the panda in his hiding box. Adam is drawn to bears, the bloated mass of brown fur, heavy pawed. He feels this way, without dexterity. Yet Adam is in awe of the secret nimbleness their fingers and his contain. He wonders if someone, maybe even Eve, will ask to see how they work. Eve finds herself pressed against the glass of the gorilla, bigger than she, whom she imagined she could fit inside, the swallowed child or the ultraviolet blossom of soul. She hopes that maybe the bee will see what is beyond her vision now. Here is the goat, here is the lamb, here is the camel with his head in the sand. Here is Adam in the butterfly enclosure, disappointed by the silence. Eve comes upon him here, and the monarchs come and nest in her hair. She feels as if the wind has visited her. And Adam takes one on his finger and lets Eve give it lift with breath. The nursery at last, egg white and full of murmur. The cub is suckling milk from a bottle, bright new sheep for the grasslands tumble. Adam and Eve are still at last, their breath marks on the glass. This is the world that they were born for, if not born into. Here is the woman, here is the man, here is the earth in the palm of our hand. While we're at the zoo, I'll do a couple of animal poems here. Almost seem to write animal poems. The snow leopard in the Metro Toronto Zoo, for Paul Strong. He pads on grassy banks behind a fence, with measured paces slow and tense. Beyond his cage, his thoughts are sharp and white. He lives a compelled anchorite. A solid ghost gone blind with all the green. He waits and waits to be unseen. The snow globe of drowning bears. A shelf of ice breaks off and summers to the south. Bread torn from a loaf and dipped into the mouth. The children drowned in the kelp off the Kentucky coast. Blessed are those born with jeans for wet toes. At harvest time in Canada, heft the pomegranates into baskets, like the whole world he's got in his hands. Shake it, please, and send a scattering. Bear. Along the trail, I drag my shadow behind me as the sun burns into my forehead. The woods of Virginia do not move, except everywhere, slowly. Ahead, the stillness is the same. Even the trees are bending with the weight of air. I've walked for miles and yet seen nothing. No scurryings, only wind howls at cliff edges, where stunted pines like suicides look down. Down into the valley, the light dulls. What's left luminous is the moss and shadow. And in the river basin, among the deadfall, scruff sparks in the brush and out comes a bear, running into the woods. I stand amazed, like darkness exposed to sunlight, an empty bowl to water. The footbeats leave their echoes. Adam's tongue. And here at last is what you've all been waiting for. The tongue of Adam, pink and fleshy, sweet as adder, kept behind glass for centuries. And while the world raged on, it has kept its silent vigil, here chapeled for all to come and see the first communicant with God, the holy name's first instrument. What treasure compares to this? Teresa in Avila, St. Martin's cloak, or Peter's tongue with its denials? And so we have come to keep it here, past the altar for sacrifice, the stone confessional, the censer smoke rising, here ensconced with the bottles of nard and the monks' hair shirts and the funeral cards. Just how it came to be here is not known, but legend has it that Cain returned to see his father's end, crept in the night to cut out Adam's tongue and carry it as a token of his fall. Perhaps mere story, but was Cain surprised by the incorruptibility of the tongue, its failure to shrivel, blackened to a tiny cold dark flake of soul? This was still body, father's, live with every spark of care. Holding it, it dithers. Here it is, the first of blessers, the first of kissers, the first of namers, the first of acquiescers. The cost to look is free, but there is a box to donate for those of you whose hands, unlike this tongue, aren't mute.